This flight attendant was fired for twerking and is now playing the victim. Take a listen to this clip from Inside Edition.
She's the flight attendant whose twerking cost her her dream job.
I didn't think that, being so happy can turn into something like this.
Nell Diallo was having a great time dancing and twerking in the aisle on an empty plane before an early morning flight.
I decided to just take advantage of the moment to wake myself up and kind of get myself hyped up for my day, basically.
She posted the video on TikTok along with the caption, "What's wrong with a little twerk before work?" But after the video went viral, she says Alaska Airlines fired her. What did they say to you?
They just said that I broke their social media policy. For them to terminate me without giving me a chance, it just was unfair.
What's wrong with a little twerk before work? Well, a lot actually, when what you actually do is twerk at work in your uniform and then post it on the internet. I don't know, maybe I'm heartless, but I simply don't feel particularly bad for this woman. I know that personal responsibility and facing consequences for your actions is kind of out of vogue in society today, but I'm still a strong proponent in those things, and she should have read the social media policy that her employer, the airline, gave her when presumably she was presented with all this information, known that this wasn't allowed, and not done it. It's just not a good look for a company to have their employees doing sexually suggestive dances on the job in their uniforms. If she was just twerking, with her friends and she posted it in her regular clothes, but also happened to be an airline employee, I wouldn't want her fired for that or disciplined for that. That's totally different. But yeah, doing sexually suggestive dances on the job is inappropriate. And if you break the rules at your job, you might get fired. So for her then to play the victim and say it's unfair, it's really not. You messed around and you found out. Now, I will say, could they have given her a warning or some consequences short of just totally firing her? Maybe. Maybe it's a little excessive. Maybe it's harsh. But she doesn't seem remorseful or regretful. I'd have a lot more sympathy for her if she did. She seems like she thinks she didn't do anything wrong. And she obviously did, and obviously doesn't have respect for her employers and their policies. And just more broadly, we need to normalize people having to sleep in the bed they made for themselves, winning stupid prizes when they play stupid games. I don't know where as a society we got off just telling people that they can do whatever they want and then not expect to face the consequences of it. I'm a huge believer in personal freedom and individual liberty, but that also comes with personal consequences and personal responsibility. That's my take, but do you feel bad for her? Let me know in the comments if any of you do. And to the precious few straight men who watch my videos, don't allow the shaken booty to sway your opinion, okay? Up next, another TikToker is calling for violence against Trump, and this one has a twist.
A white person has to do it. Okay, and we all know what it is, but we're missing heavy context on these videos I see circulating, talking about who's gonna do it, a white person has to do it. We all know this, okay? What color was Katniss? Look what happened to Rue, okay? One of y'all please just take one for the f***ing team, all right? Why is everything about race? Because it is. It's always been, so shut up and get with the program.
He seems stable and not at all insane. I love how they had to make it a woke race thing, too. Not only are they calling for violence against the sitting president of the United States with their whole chest on social media, which, by the way, at FBI, at Secret Service, come get your mans. They're also insisting that the person who does it has to be a privileged white person or something. Y'all are demented. But over 40,000 people liked this video, thought that he was onto something, not that he was insane. America might be cooked. Up next, this MSNBC guest just accidentally insulted Americans while trying to advocate for Ukraine. Take a listen to this interesting clip.
The person who's watching,
yes,
who just heard you say Donald Trump is not standing up for Ukraine. What do you say to the person who says, well, I don't care about Ukraine. I want Donald Trump to stand up for America. What do you say to them?
I don't know where you got that. I mean, I don't have time for it.
Yes, but we hear it. We hear it.
Here's the thing. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in a place where you thought the Russians were the good guys? What part of America did you grow up in where they taught you the Russians were the good guys and our allies were the bad guys? That's the flip here that we need to continue to remind people. The Russians are the bad guys. They're women. They're killing children. They're bombing cities. The Ukrainians are the noble good guys. In some ways, they're more American than we are over the last couple of years. And we must stand with them in the same way we stood with the Allies in World War II and since this country was founded.
So Yikes. Just yikes. Look, my sympathies are with the Ukrainian people, and I think Putin's invasion is unjustified and evil. Some of the scenes out of Ukraine over the last couple of years are just absolutely horrific, but this is not the way to advocate that Americans should support Ukraine. Say they're more American than we are, which is just weird. Can't you compliment them without insulting Americans? And then two, rejecting the premise of the host's question, which was very clear, that a lot of people in this country feel that we need to put America first and focus on America and what's happening here, not be the world's policeman, not fixing everyone else's problems. So if you want to support Ukraine financially through taxpayers or through military resources, and I have friends and people I respect who fall down on either side of that question. I personally support Ukraine, but I'm very, very skeptical of the idea of sending them billions of dollars of taxpayer resources. But if you want to make the case for that, you have to argue why it's in America's interest to do so. And there are arguments to be made, but simply dismissing them and saying, no, you should care about Ukraine. Well, that's easy to say when you're an ideological armchair commentator who's sitting in a New York City studio, but a lot of people who can't afford groceries aren't waking up every day thinking about Ukraine. And that doesn't make them evil or mean they deserve to be belittled. And if you want to keep taking their money and sending it overseas, you have to at least respect them enough to make the case honestly as to why they should do so. Or you can keep pushing this narrative, but don't act shocked when people keep moving away from your position. Up next, somebody needs to take Trump's social media away, because the president just posted something kind of wild on Truth Social. From his official account on Truth Social, Trump posted an article with the headline, "Shut up about egg prices. Trump is saving consumers millions." It's a link to the Daily Caller, an article written by conservative activist Charlie Kirk. So egg prices are insanely high right now, and that hurts American families when they're grocery shopping because eggs are an important part of a lot of families' diets. And the president just shared an article titled, "Shut up about egg prices." Yeah, that's not it. That is not the messaging. That is not the right tactic to take. Can y'all imagine if Biden had done that during the inflation that he had and the high prices, shared something that said, "Shut up and stop complaining about grocery prices"? Like, what? People on the right would freak out and be very upset about it, and for good reason. Now, to be clear, the article itself explains, and I think this is true, that the current high egg prices are not Donald Trump's fault. They're a result of bird flu that resulted in a huge culling of hens, egg-laying hens, that massively decreased the supply and is causing this temporary price shock. It's not Trump's fault, and that's totally fair to argue, but don't tell people to stop complaining about the price. That comes off as totally tone deaf and obnoxious messaging, and I think a lot of Republicans would be very upset by it if it was a Democrat saying the same thing. What do you guys think? Do you sympathize with that message from President Trump? I personally do not.